presidential spokesperson, ladies and gentlemen of the press, members of the party, particularly the vice president of the party, Honorable Paulina Mpariwa, the chairman of the party, we call him General Sox, Vachikovero, organizing secretary Taisekwa, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to this very important press conference as the Movement for Democratic Change. This press conference has been necessitated by the developments that are happening in our country. In the historic referendum of 2013, the people of Zimbabwe promulgated a new people-driven and democratic constitution. The process of making this constitution was fraught with danger, including violence and intimidation and even murder of people who were supporting the constitutional process. Despite these difficulties, the people of Zimbabwe persevered and delivered a constitution that stands among the best in the world. Our constitution is the most comprehensive Bill of Rights on the African continent. It has institutions supporting democracy. And most importantly, it prescribes term limits for both the president and the parliament. We therefore, as the MDC, regard this document as a sacrosanct whose integrity must be preserved. Following the coup of 2017, ZANU-PF promised a new era. In fact, they promised a second republic. In the eyes of many people, the government was promising that it was making a clean break from the politics that has been exercised for a long time under the First Republic of Robert Mugabe. We believed that they would uphold the principles of the rule of law, constitutionalism, and in particular, we believed that the president was going to safeguard the constitution. To our surprise, after the 2023 elections, some elements within ZANU-PF started advocating for the third term. And this third term was initially targeted at the president only. The president himself, Dr. Mnangagwa, initially distanced himself from the calls for the third term. But what has happened within ZANU-PF seemed to throw doubt on what the president actually meant. Reports also indicate that the opposition in parliament has now jumped onto the bandwagon for the calls for 2030. We as the MDC stand opposed to the calls for the extension of term of the president and of parliament. But before I go to the president, let me go to the process that led to members of parliament changing course and supporting the third term. And this happened in circumstances that we think are extremely humiliating and self-serving. And I want to remind us that the said members of parliament were invited for a party at State House. Number two, they were promised additional motor vehicles by parliament and better working conditions by parliament. Number three, they were invited to the president's farm in Kwekwe, at which place they then uttered that they were supporting the third term. Fourth, for the first time, members of the opposition were given food to distribute. They were given bags of rice. I want to state it for the sake of completeness. We cannot sacrifice principle. We cannot sacrifice the people of Zimbabwe on the altar of individual gain. The president, Mnangagwa himself, said that he was not running for the third term. But we are surprised that he allowed the ZANU-PF Congress to make a resolution for the third term. He has allowed at his own farm members of the opposition, members of ZANU-PF to still talk about the Agenda 2030 or the agenda of the third term. In our view, the president is indicating right while turning left, and we cannot accept that. The MDC is firmly opposed to the constitutional amendments for 6 reasons. First of all, the proposed amendments undermine the democratic principles enshrined in both the Constitution and international best practice. Our Constitution says a president must serve for 2 terms of 5 years. International best practices says the same. So in bringing these amendments, we are violating that national principle.